just want Maractus to have a buff to make it worthwhile, to make it good, to make it usable. I love that little guy. I think he's tremendous. I think Maractus is one of the greatest Pokemon of all time. Anyway, here's some more buffs that didn't help these Pokemon from Full Swipe Gaming. I don't think Maractus is going to be on this list because they never give him Maractus anything. They could give him a Mega... Oh, they could give him a Mega Evolution. Yeah, they should do that. Yes, they should do that.
To follow up on our video about buffs that didn't help the Pokemon that they were given to. This time we have even more of these unhelpful buffs to show you. The premise is simple, but this time we're switching it up. Whereas previously we focused on poor Pokemon that weren't given enough, this time...
Well, they weren't given enough. I mean, Alakazam has 2 freaking spoons. What more could he possibly want? And that Wigglytuff has a Breloom inside of it too. Oh, they all have Pokemon inside them. Goodness me, look at them. Heracross had a Mega Evolution. Although it didn't quite make it enough. If I had more speed, oh, it'd be so good. Gengar had Nasty Plot. Oh yeah, I'm remembering this old video. I'm remembering that video now. Masquerain I recently used in a Then We Fight video. That thing is okay.
This time we're focusing on previously excellent Pokemon that were unable to maintain their high tiering status.
Despite being given a buff? Oh, okay, all right, let's see what this is all about then.
Despite Game Freak not ignoring them. On the contrary, they were given very, very good tools in their respective generational shifts, and yet it wasn't
Breloom
enough.
has close
so
combat now?
Without further ado, let's jump right into it.
See, I did not know that.
Buffs that didn't help these Pokemon.
That's a good one for Breloom to get into.
First, get the buff that these Pokemon should have gotten to their sleep, because this video is sponsored by Helix Sleep. My goodness, this is by far the most comfortable mattress I've ever slept on. And
genuinely, I've wanted a Helix Sleep sponsorship for so long so I could get Helix Sleep mattress. I might have to cave and just use Full Swipe Gaming's code. I might have to. I've wanted one of these mattresses for so freaking long. I just want to have good sleep.
That's because this mattress was matched with me via Helix's sleep quiz. My partner and I both took the quiz, and they sent us a mattress that is perfect for us. Personally, I'm a back sleeper who likes medium firm mattresses.
I'm like a side sleeper. I curl into a ball.
I don't like too soft because I have back problems and my back sinking into the bed hurts it. We received the Helix Midnight. The mattress comes rolled up and compressed in a box, and it's very easy to set up.
It comes in a
literally,
box?
you just unwrap it on the bed.
Wait, why? That's not the thing that I should be shocked about. Of course it's going to come in a box, then, you stupid idiot. I'm shocked about the fact that it comes compressed, because they usually don't do that with mattresses.
And watch it decompress and form. Helix also provides free shipping to anywhere in the US. Helix was even kind enough to send us a mattress with a Glacial Text cooling cover, which keeps us cool and comfortable while we sleep. I especially love this feature because for years, I've had to deal with memory foam mattresses absorbing my body heat and the heat waking me up at night. Now I can safely say I do not experience that. The Helix lineup offers 20 unique mattresses, including their award-winning Luxe and Ultra Premium Elite collections. Helix mattresses have a 10-year warranty, and they even offer financing options and flexible payment plans, so a great night's sleep
love more than sleeping.
Away. And the best part about all of this is that Helix has a 100-night sleep trial. So you get to use it for over 3 months for free to make sure you love it. So if you want the most comfortable mattress ever and also support the channel to help us produce more content, click the link in the description below to get an exclusive offer of 27% off and 2 free pillows. And
God, I hope they ship to the UK.
Sponsoring this video.
I think I might have to, actually. I really want to. I really want to do
Pokemon have been buffed en route to gaining viability. Far more have been passed over and left to linger uselessly. However,
Spinda has like a billion forms, okay? It's not
just because Pokemon in the latter category have not found competitive use does not mean that they have been totally ignored by Game Freak. In fact, there are all sorts of buffs dished out to pokes you'll rarely see, if ever, in the form of new moves, abilities, even the occasional boost to their base stats, and sometimes
20 attack. That probably brings up to like what? 100?
The rare type change. However, just because Game Freak gave a buff doesn't mean that the buff, or buffs even, is or are sufficient for a Pokemon to find a significant boost to its viability. It's not about the buffs themselves being bad either. They'd be highly appreciated on better Pokemon.
Alakazam's Nasty Plot is just him thinking, ooh, I could have 2 ice creams at the same time.
The point is more that, good as these buffs might be, they aren't enough for the Pokemon they are given to. Not every buff is on par with, say, Clefable gaining the Fairy type in Gen 6, or Dugtrio's plus 20 boost to its base attack in Gen 7.
I mean, it needed that.
Today,
it was
we're
so
going to be
weak
exploring the Pokemon whose buffs were not enough to help them, and offer some suggestions on what they would need in order to be viable.
I think Breloom needs more speed. It really does struggle with the speed category. It just doesn't have enough. Gained Oh, it gained close combat. See, it's surprising to me that it didn't already have close combat, though I guess it did have high jump kick, which is lovely. I love missing that. That's fantastic. Went for 3 times Uber to UU borderline. Goodness me.
When Blaziken was reintroduced in Generation 8, it was coming off of a streak of 3 consecutive Uber placements. Ever since Generation 5's Dream World had given it speed boost as its hidden ability, it seemed almost like a fundamental truth of Pokemon. Give Blaziken speed boost and it will be broken. It was
The problem with Blaziken is it has to mix its special and its attack, so it doesn't really excel in either of them. I mean, you could use Swords Dance, and with Swords Dance speed boost, that's just ridiculous. It doesn't really have much in the way of priority. It's like, what, quick attack? I don't think it has Mach
maybe
Punch.
a little surprising at first, but made complete sense in retrospect. Here you had an immensely powerful attacker, held back by its frailty combined with lackluster speed. Now take away the speed part. Shocker. When you can't deal with it by outrunning it, it becomes overwhelming. It seemed like it was a cinch for a 4th straight ban to Ubers, as it only had seemed to improve. Now it had U-turn, which was self-evident in its excellence, but uniquely superb for Blaziken in that it was particularly ruinous to the likes of Slowbro, its best answer, especially if strengthened by the choice band that Blaziken would wind.
Oh, that did a solid 55% to Slowbro. That's a good, respectable number.
If its best answer couldn't switch into it safely, what chance did anything else have? Even U-turning on something like Landorus Therian with Stealth Rock up was an amazing way to chip it and make it more difficult for Lando to take on Blaziken.
And it gets a speed boost. Every single turn it gets a speed boost. So you switch something in, it gets a speed boost, and it's probably going to outspeed it unless it's scarfed and it's only been in for like 1 turn.
Or its teammates for that matter, later in the game. Whatever your Blaziken answer was, U-turn would punish it somehow, maintaining amazing offensive momentum for it. It's almost stifling in its obviousness. Amazing offensive Pokemon gets one of the best moves in the game, semicolon. Pokemon uses move to excellent effect, comma, looks handsome. Especially since
It's a great explanation. And Blaziken's looking mighty handsome recently, isn't
the
it?
move isn't just general purpose level good, but messing up your best counter level good. That kind of thing will give you the ultimate je ne sais quoi type of radiance. Additionally, with close combat, Blaziken no longer had to fear high jump kick backfiring on it in a crucial spot it shouldn't be having issues with. When
Do people really run Protect just for high jump kick? Because that's pretty sick if they
rolling
do.
into a Protect, Ghost type, or just plain 90% accuracy letting it down, the power was amazing, but it was surprisingly difficult to use the move safely against many targets Blaziken should have had no problems dispatching. With close combat, it was almost as strong as it was much safer to use. Blaziken was not a Pokemon left wanting for power, and in fact this made it more consistent since you could no longer cheese your way past it through Protect or Ghost guessing games.
I mean, listen, if you're going to run Protect just for Blaziken, I feel like you should get that 50% damage. I feel like you deserve it at that point.
However, in spite of these insane buffs,
And if you get the double Protect, then you should just die. The Blaziken should just die immediately. It should have like a heart attack like Goku in the Android saga of Dragon Ball Z.
Blaziken not only failed to return to Ubers in Gen 8, but it actually dropped to UU, and then repeated this exact pattern in Gen 9, where it can now make itself even stronger through terrestrialization.
That is really shocking that Blaziken is in UU with Terra and Speed Boost. That just seems ludicrously powerful.
How did this happen?
I guess it's, you know, it's probably just the attack stat being lackluster. The attack stat on Blaziken is like, what, 110, 115 maybe? If you took something out of its special attack and put it into its attack stat, it would be better. But due to the fact that it was introduced in Generation 3, a generation that didn't have the physical special split yet, you have to factor in that Fire was special. So Blaziken needed to have decent special so they could use that. It could use like Flamethrower, it could use like Fire Blast. Now you just want to spam Flare Blitz. Oh dear, you haven't got very good special, and your attack should be better in theory, because I mean, just look at this guy. He looks like a guy that can punch hard.
Well, it's not like Blaziken was only buffed. Its loss of hidden power ice, while not catastrophic by any means, did undeniably throw a massive wrench in its viability of its mixed sets, as it was no longer able to immediately threaten the immensely popular Garchomp and Landorus Therian. However, even without HP ice, the Gen 8
I guess that was one of the benefits that came with hidden power, is the fact that it could use special moves effectively, or the fact that it could use hidden power effectively due to the fact that it had decent special. But now we have Terrestrialization and we have Terra Blast, so you could Terra Ice your Blaziken. But of course, Ice is a very bad defensive typing.
Landscape was quite hostile to it. It can be summarized by heavy-duty boots making it quite easy for Pokemon to stay at high health, which led to a very bulky metagame. This metagame focused on bulk and longevity meant it was quite difficult to wear opponents down into range of a Blaziken sweep, especially with the prominence of Toxapex and yes, Slowbro. Additionally, in a shift quite reminiscent of the first 3 generations, this style of metagame meant it wasn't enough for an offensive Pokemon to just be threatening offensively. It had to have some sort of defensive utility too.
Melmetal is so cool. I forgot it existed though. Why is it not in Scarlet and Violet? I feel like it should be in Scarlet and Violet.
Blaziken was quite limited in that regard. Sure, it could break its checks down over the course of a longer game, but Blaziken wasn't the kind of Pokemon regarded for its longevity. So generally, the Boost Regenerator gang was going to win in a war of attrition. Now, it wasn't all bad. Far from it. In fact, Blaziken was still a great Pokemon. Not decent, not pretty good, great. In both Gens 8 and 9, it got itself banned from UU for how spectacularly it dismantled the tier and created a solid niche for itself in OU, especially in Gen 8, where it wound up proving itself to be quite excellent, if not quite uber tier.
Now, let's not get started on VGC, because clearly in VGC, it's not touching the walls in VGC. It's not doing out in VGC.
Indeed, compared to the metagame.
Although there is a new regulation now that's, oh, I guess it's not new, but it's the one after World, since World finished, and they don't have the restricted regulations anymore. So who knows what could happen? You could see some big things happen. Or you could just see Dondozo win in almost every match. Or Side Spam. I mean, who knows?
Spreading dominance of the past several generations, culminating in a Generation 7 when it started off banned already and wasn't allowed in OU for even a minute. It is a significant step down, especially because it has indeed been buffed. Spamming its fighting move has only gotten easier, and it received one of the most incredible offensive moves in the game, one that seriously messes up its best counter.
Yeah, U-turn is truly fantastic. Latios used to be one of the greatest Pokemon of all time in Generation 5. Gained, oh my god, what is happening here? Okay, so it gained Agility Aura Sphere, Future Sight, Mystical Fire, and Removal of Pursuit, which no one's using Pursuit on a Latios, surely. It gained Flip Turn? What? What a strange move to give it. What is going on here? Psychic Noise and buffed Lusterpurge, which they should do because Lusterpurge was relatively unpowered. Underpowered.
You may be wondering, why not both Lati twins here? Well, because Latias actually did improve with the buffs it received. Agility on stored power sets in particular contributed to it going from top tier UU in Gen 7 to being banned from UU in both Gens 8 and 9. So its buff did actually help. Anyway,
oh man, you get the weakness policy off with an agility that gives you +6, which 20 base power plus +6 is what, 120 base power stored power plus +2 special attack and stab and maybe terrestrialization. Oh, that sounds good.
Kinds of buffs it received in Gens 8 and 9 are stupefying to anyone familiar with what a Latios at the peak of its powers can do. Even the introduction of the fairy type couldn't stop it. If in Gen 7, Latios maintained its OU placement through its excellent mega form that let it not just keep up with the tide of power creep, but come to dominate it, these moves were surely going to be its Gen 8 and 9 equivalent, which similarly kept it not just afloat, but superb in an increasingly powerful standard metagame, particularly because these moves seem so perfectly calibrated to strengthen it with how precisely they targeted its issues. No hidden power fire anymore? Have mystical fire, which was stronger than HP fire had been even at its peak.
Yeah, Latios just has like every single move at this
hitting
point.
The trio of common checks, Tyranitar, Heatran, and Ferrothorn all in the same move, and
I have so much respect for Tyranitar for staying so high so consistently, despite the fact that it has so many. It's weak to everything. It's weak to looking outside. It's weak to the grass in the morning dew. It's weak to reading a newspaper. It's weak to talking to their family.
Issues hitting Tyranitar in general have Aura Sphere. Even if you don't wind up hitting Tyranitar hard on the switch, it almost doesn't even matter because it can't pursue you anymore. The one thing really
Pursuit in general was removed. I'm an idiot. It wasn't Latios that was using Pursuit. It was Pursuit in general. Why did they remove Pursuit in general? That's crazy. That's such a buff of Psychics.
Holding Latios back before was how easily it was trapped, and conversely, in matchups where there was no Pursuit, it was allowed to switch in and out of battle repeatedly. It absolutely destroyed the opponent. You know what else takes advantage of this newfound freedom? Its newly gained Future Sight, which was far stronger than Psychic and worked beautifully in tandem with its teammates in much the same manner as the Slow Twins were redefining OU with. That's
such an interesting thing that Future Sight is a genuinely good move, because I always thought Future Sight was a bit of a joke move. Like, oh yeah, well, I get to attack you 2 turns in the future instead of now. Where's my instant gratification video game?
Gen 8 too. If you wanted to give Latios those tools in previous generations, the player base would already be mortified, but with the downright obscene buffs it gets in Gen 9, they'd straight up be screaming in terror. Flip turn, give Latios a
screaming in terror as they bring on Darkrai. Okay, I see what you're doing here.
Switch move? What a horrifying prospect. That fairy ruining Psychic stab just gets better and better too.
Whoa! Lusterpurge just destroyed this thing in one hit. What the heck? Okay, hold on. I did not realize. I was not familiar with your game, Latios. How strong is Lusterpurge? Oh! It's 95 power now. It used to be 70. Goodness gracious me. Wow, yeah, it got buffed up. Like got biggie buffed up. Wow, all right.
Its buff Luster Purge now hits harder than Psychic ever had, and had a 50% chance to drop the opponent's special defense.
50% chance? All right, yeah, this is ridiculous. The only thing it's nerfed by is the fact that it has 5 PP. But in single battles, you can buff that up to 8. So it has 8 PP, which is like, that's fine. You don't really need to use most moves more than 8 times in one battle, do you?
Oh, and it also gets Psychic Noise, which is basically a heal block that does solid damage. How is any team going to stand up to this thing? Especially because, and we cannot emphasize this enough, you can't even pursuit it anymore. What on earth went wrong to the point where this viciously improved Latios is not only not back in OU, but actually dropping to UU and
is it terrestrialization? I feel like it's terrestrialization or the introduction of more fairy types,
not
maybe.
even getting banned. The problem? Latios' status as a speedy special attacking dragon type had been usurped by Dragapult.
It was Dragapult's fault, but Dragapult isn't in Scarlet and Violet as far as I'm aware.
Power, it more than made up with its incredible speed that got the jump on just about anything. Latios wasn't slow by any means, but it was no longer quite as fast either. Getting outsped by Weavile was particularly notable. It also didn't help that Dragapult's Spec Shadow Ball was one of the most spammable attacks in the entire game.
Jeez, it is actually crazy to me the fact that 110 base speed, 110 speed is not classified as like very fast anymore. Back when I used to play Draft League and proper competitive formats, it used to be incredibly fast, super speedy.
Like Latios' secondary stab, it wasn't resisted by Steel, so it didn't have to play any prediction games with coverage moves to get around Ferrothorn, Heatran, and Melmetal. If it simply spanned Shadow Ball enough, it would be fine. Additionally, if you really wanted Psychic-type power, because Latios' Dragon Stab wasn't the draw it had been anymore, you would just run Tapu Lele, who packed the same base special attack, but hit much harder thanks.
And is immune. Oh, she hits so hard, and she's immune to priority moves as well.
The Psychic Surge. So much so that it almost didn't even matter that, like Latios, both stabs were resisted by Steel. Lele's secondary Fairy Stab was also, unlike Latios, incredibly useful, and could also bust out the Future Sight if you wanted, again, one that was boosted by Psychic Terrain. Between Dragapult and Tapu Lele, there wasn't much room for Latios and OU. Not a bad Pokemon, just an outclassed one. Then in Gen 9, the metagame, faster and stronger to a mind-boggling extent, really left it in the dust.
Yeah, the power creep in Generation 9 has been absolutely ridiculous.
And the ensuring power creep that trickled down to UU meant that Latios was just fine there. A great Pokemon to be sure, but despite getting all the buffs it possibly could have wanted, we have to wonder what more from the existing pool of moves Latios even could have asked for to fix its issues.
Damn, Paradoxmon really ruined a lot of Pokemon. I bet they're not going to be in the next generation, 100%. They're not going to be in the games. Just like Ultra Beasts aren't in Scarlet and Violet. They're not going to have Paradoxmon in whatever the Generation 10 games are. They're just not going to put them in.
This hasn't been enough for Latios to maintain anywhere near its former glory.
God, that's so sad. Latios used to be the GOAT. Gastrodon. Okay, I love Gastrodon. It's great. It gains Stealth Rocks and Spikes.
Bulk, famously excellent typing, and the
Wait, it didn't have Stealth Rocks? That doesn't sound right. That sounds wrong.
Reliable healing of Recover, Gastrodon had a niche in OU in Generation 4, but upgraded to staple status in Gen 5, where Storm Drain was buffed to becoming immune to water and provide the special attack boost to boot. Most of the time, Gastrodon wasn't actually
I can't believe how bad Storm Drain used to be. It used to just bring in the water type moves. It would just make it target you, and you wouldn't be immune to it, and you wouldn't get a buff. It would just target you.
With the exception of Gen 5, but it was absolutely a significant part of the tier, and there were many stages of many metagames where it was downright dominant. For instance, there was a phase in Ultra Sun and Moon OU where Gastrodon exploded in usage despite being PU because of how hard it shut down major threats in Heatran, Tapu Koko, and both Protean and Ash Greninja.
Yeah, come on, Gastrodon! Let's go! God, I'm so impressed. I'm so happy. But not as happy as you'll be if you use code Patterrz at GamerSubs to save some money on some delicious beverages. You can get caffeine free, you can get caffeine versions, you can get whatever you want. You can get merchandise over there. You can get our freaking shaker cups. Look at this beautiful thing. It's so big, it can hold any liquid. It doesn't even have to be GamerSubs. It can hold any liquid. You can get anime waifus on yours, or you can choose to get no anime waifus. It's entirely up to you if you use code Patterrz at GamerSubs. Oh, fuck, I just dropped it. No, you can't drop it. Please don't drop it. But please, oh my god, okay, links in the description. This is, oh god, everything's wet now. Oh,
Gastrodon's fundamental traits would always provide some sort of use in the metagame, even if its tiering status was far below such a ranking. It didn't need to actually be OU proper for players to recognize the value of the two of the best defensive types in the game, coming together to form an absolutely superb combination, combined with reliable recovery that let it repeatedly answer some of the scariest threats in the game, while generally being difficult to KO. No, Gastrodon wasn't a Garchomp counter, but you certainly wouldn't have a good time trying to use Garchomp to take Gastro on. It was
Yeah, you could try. It could try its absolute best. It's got Ice Beam. It's got Scald. What's Garchomp gonna do? You can max defense bold this thing. It doesn't even have the best defense in the world, but it has good
a
HP.
passive wall. It was decidedly obnoxious to switch into between its highly workable attacking stats, solid stabs, including the ever irritating Scald, and either Toxic or Ice Beam. Gastrodon could even use Clear Smog to take on threats that normally take advantage of walls like itself, such as Calm Mind, Reuniclus, or Clefable. It fit
I
on
just love it
all
so
manner of
much.
teams.
Look at him. He's just a cute little guy. He's just a little guy. You can't be mad at Gastrodon ever. Just let him do his thing.
Gastrodon was great. Then in Generation 9, Gastrodon's utility exploded. Now it wasn't just using its many walling duties to annoy the opponent with status. Now it could set up hazards, having received access to both Stealth Rock and Spikes. Either one of these would have been absolutely incredible and would have shot it up the tiering rung in any other generation, except Gen 5, where it would
I think Gastrodon has moveset syndrome, where you're like, okay, I have both of these entry hazard moves I can use now, but I also want to use Toxic. I also want to use Scald. I also want to have coverage. I want to have Ice Beam. I also want to have recovery. I want to where's my recover? I need that too.
OU, but with much more usage, and it's already got its fair share there. But getting both, slotting Gastrodon almost felt too easy now. It's got all this defensive utility, and now it can set up hazards too. The problem isn't that Gastrodon isn't OU. It's that it doesn't even have a niche in the tier anymore, despite having more to...
True. I guess when you remove a lot of the Pokemon that Gastrodon specifically is good against from the specific area, then they don't really have a reason to be there anymore, and they're outclassed by a lot of the more powerful Pokemon that have been introduced, like the Paradox ones. Paradox was terrible for competitive. I'm kidding. I love them. I love the Paradox ones. They're great.
Offer than ever. It's not just that the insanely power crept generation is far too strong for it, though that certainly is the case, as Gastrodon struggles immensely in the land of Iron Valley and friends, but also the fact that littering the field with spikes is something every ground type can do now, including the downright incredible Gliscor, to say nothing of the ubiquity of Stealth Rock that was already available to these same grounds. Not that it wasn't nice and everything, but when you couldn't wall like you could before anymore, and access to these hazards wasn't even unique, well, if Garchomp fell to UU in the generation that
Garchomp's in UU now? What? Did Garchomp get buffs? Is Garchomp in this video?
Gastrodon didn't stand much of a chance, no matter how buffed it indeed was with both of them and rocks.
That's ridiculous. What do you mean Garchomp's in UU? Breloom! Let's go. Got loaded dice close combat. Oh, loaded dice bullet seed with technician. Hang about with Terra Grass. Hold on a second. It's just too slow. It's so slow.
Force from generations 3 through 6. Even though it was initially BL in its debut, it eventually rose due to the power of Spore and Fighting Stab, including an utterly massive Focus Punch that outdamaged even the mighty Heracross. In each of the other generations, it was a no-doubter. It continued to thrive in Gen 5 even after Sleep was banned. It was a lot more than just a Spore machine. And in generations 6 and 7, with grass types being buffed to no longer be slept by Spore, as well as the continued ubiquity of Poison Heal Gliscor, Spore became far from mandatory. Turns out Breloom has a massively threatening move pool beyond just sleeping things. In fact, in Generation 4, several top tier movesets popped up that didn't use Spore at all. It simply had other things it wanted to do. Not to downplay.
Okay, Force Palm being its best option here is ridiculous.
The power of Spore, but it's important for where this story goes. Anyway, Breloom was no longer OU in Gen 7, but it destroyed UU en route to getting banned in BL, and still had an OU niche. Upon arriving in Generation 9, it received the close combat buff, which allowed it to wield its Fighting Stab more powerfully and risklessly than ever. It could go stronger, but Focus Punch was hardly the most consistent thing in the world. Superpower was great, but it of course came with an attack drop that made Breloom less frightening on the follow-up turn. Low Sweep was great, and it's tough to say Breloom's power was lacking with it, but it wouldn't turn down the extra power. Close combat was just what Nurse Joy...
Well, Breloom's around 130 attack, right? Like, it's very good, but it's not going to be consistently one-shot everything it goes up against.
Ordered. It wasn't just its Fighting Stab getting upgraded
Unless it's
either.
super effective, in which case, damn, Samurott just died. Goodness gracious me, that thing is going to be... The funeral is soon! Yep, sorry, kids. Granddad's dead.
With loaded dice, Breloom could guarantee its powerful Technician boosted Bullet Seed hit 4 to 5 times, making it functionally a 100 or 125 base power.
Dude, just wiping out an Ursa Luna like that? That's ridiculous. This thing is bulky.
The former outdamaged Seed Bomb by a whopping 20 base power, while the latter was
2 hits to kill Iron Boulder?
Power Whip. Okay, yes, eventually Sleep was banned, and Breloom lost the ability to sleep opponents. But again, as we have established,
wait, Sleep was banned in Smogon?
Breloom is a massive threat even without Sleep. Once again, C Generation 5, which also had the status ban. This was not some Amoonguss-esque Pokemon.
Okay, I get Sleep Claws where you can only have one Pokemon to sleep at a time, but ban completely is insane.
That was riding the brokenness of Sleep to success. This was a genuinely unique, terrifying physical attacker in its own right, and one that sometimes didn't even want to bother using Spore, if it was just going to get checked by grass types anyway. No Spore in your moveset just makes it easier to fit Swords Dance alongside Bullet Seed, Close Combat, and the powerful priority of Stab Mach Punch. With loaded dice, your main 2 stabs are consistently hitting incredibly hard, and you can pick off
God, I love Breloom. He reminds me of Dingo Dial from Crash Bandicoot.
faster targets with Mach Punch. Power creep means yes, Breloom might not be able to match OU anymore, but what about UU at least? Couldn't a loaded dice Close Combat Breloom be too good?
I'm sorry, I don't even know why. I just looked at him. I genuinely don't know why he reminds me of Dingo Dial so much. He looks like the Crash Bandicoot old version of Dingo Dial. He doesn't really, like, he just doesn't. I don't even know what I'm talking about. Are you seeing like a resemblance here, or am I insane? Please let me know in the comments. I think I might just be insane.
UU once again? Apparently not. Breloom's fall was spectacular, and not only failed to maintain a UU placement, it dropped all the way to NU. That is how gruesome power creep is. All out offensive Breloom has always been slow.
I wonder if we're going to reverse the power creep in Generation 10 a bit, or if they're just going to accelerate it, because since they don't have every Pokemon in every game, what they can do is they can just like not put the Pokemon in that are ridiculously powerful. They can keep out the Paradoxes. They can keep out like Koraidon and Miraidon, who is ridiculous. They can keep out Do not put Calyrex in Generation 10. Just don't put him in. I don't want to see his big, stupid, dumb forehead, all right?
And on the fragile side, what has gotten by with its unique typing, ability to take one hit, how impossible it is to switch into when it scares out a slower wall, and how hard Mach Punch hits faster, frailer Pokemon. All of these qualities have been dulled and thrown through the meat grinder of Generation 9. Even the RU tier, led by Pokemon like Tauros Aqua and Blaze, generally operates at a pace and pitch beyond Breloom's reach. It seems stupefying since in addition to these buffs, Breloom can also terrestrialize to really drive home the ability to hit harder and more consistently than ever, but it's not close to enough to stop it from falling.
Damn, that only did half damage, which is really unfortunate. I would imagine with the Sword Stance that would be able to sweep though.
Off as much as it has. It's doubtful even Spore would really save it.
But what about VGC? Yeah, he's not
Finally,
VGC.
following in the tradition of Alakazam and Gengar, we've got 2 formerly brutal.
Whoa, okay. Hydreigon and Tornadus. This is singles. Oh, 100% this is single. Tornadus is doing work in doubles or VGC right now. Wait, Hydreigon didn't have Nasty Plot? I thought we already did for some reason. Wait, Stealth Rock? Hold on. Hydreigon got Stealth Rocks? I had no idea this thing had Stealth Rocks. That's so funny. Pelican Storm is so big for Tornadus in VGC because it hits both the opponents and lowers speed. I believe it lowers speed. I'm pretty sure.
Special attackers who have only...
Damn, Hydreigon's an RU. Ooh, that quad weakness to Fairy is tough, isn't it? Wait, untiered in Scarlet and Violet?
Able to
How's
hit
that
harder
possible?
than their base 125 special attack stat, in conjunction with powerful stabs already allowed thanks to the addition of Nasty Plot. Yet it has not been enough to catalyze a rise in tiering status. On the contrary, they have instead...
Yeah, I mean, when you get one-shotted by almost every single fairy type move in the world, I mean, it's just not going to happen. You also have weakness to Fighting, Ice, Dragon, just a ton of weaknesses.
Hydreigon actually used Nasty Plot very effectively in early Gen 8 OU, but as more and more Pokemon were reintroduced, it stopped using Nasty Plot, as it needed to function more immediately than with the free turn required of it. And
yeah, because it's not very bulky. It can die in one hit to any fairy type move, and it doesn't really have the speed it needs. It's got under 100 base speed, so it's struggling there too.
To UU as its talents, while still appreciated, were no longer as well suited to the stronger, faster direction the metagame headed in. And in UU, the same dynamic applied, as Hydreigon didn't use Nasty Plot almost even there. At least that was maintaining its UU status from the previous generation. Though while you could say it's disappointing that Nasty Plot didn't vault Hydreigon back to the OU status it had boasted in its original generation, it's not a downgrade. No, the reason Hydreigon qualifies for this video is because in Generation 9, it wasn't just Nasty Plot failing to let Hydreigon maintain UU status.
What is it doing with Stealth Rock? Why does it have that? That doesn't make any sense to me. What is it doing with rocks? How does it even pick them up? Does it bite them? Does it consume them?
Nope, in Gen 9, Hydreigon also got Stealth Rock. This was a Pokemon that had famously provided oceans of utility for all manner of UU teams ever since Gen 6, and now it got Stealth Rock. One can only
I feel like this is a misclick. I genuinely don't know why they did
imagine
this.
the other Terra Hydreigon with either of those moves would have wrought previously, let alone both, and yet in Gen 9, its speed seems less impressive than ever, and it is thus left in the dust by
98
power
is
creep.
bad.
At least it got banned from RU. That much is satisfying, and compared to Tornadus, it got off easy. Tornadus' Hurricane spam was seen for the first and last time in its inaugural generation, where Politoed's Permanent Rain allowed the move to be spammed without regard for its Focus Blast tier accuracy. After that, well, let's just say you wouldn't rely on a Pokemon that used Focus Blast as its only stab, and thus most players didn't. Tornadus plummeted through the ranks each passing generation. Its
I guess it has Air Slash as well, but that doesn't have the power.
potential power was huge, yes, and far greater than that of its Therian counterpart, but it didn't possess Therian's utility, nor did it even have the capacity to use its own power consistently because of the infuriating inconsistency of its main stab. Still,
God, that's so frustrating. Yeah, I'm not surprised no one plays with
it
this
couldn't be
character.
allowed to fall too
Pokemon.
far, as it would eventually destroy some lower tiers so badly its bad accuracy couldn't hold it back. Thus, while Nasty Plot certainly made his mighty Hurricane even more frightening and prompted some to wonder if it could get by with Air Slash, which, spoiler alert, no, it wasn't sufficient to save a flailing Tornadus from dropping down the tiering rung once again.
Oh, it's so sad because it's generally got, you know, decent attacking stats. It's got a good selection of moves. It has good offensive typing, and it's one of the only mono flying types in the game, and just can't do anything with it.
Still getting banned for hilariously decimating a lower tier, but in
No, it needs a partner. It needs something to back it
the
up.
same generation that got Nasty Plot, that tier was NU. Okay, but Pokemon Legends Arceus' Bleak Wind Storm appeared in Generation 9. A little less powerful, but more accurate. So probably functionally stronger once you factor in accuracy. Don't check the math on that, keep the dream alive. Anyway, if Heatran can get by with 75% accuracy Magma Storms, surely the 80% Bleak Wind Storm will be enough, right?
Surely.
And as for the lower power, that's what Nasty Plot's for, right? A more accurate stab boosted by Nasty Plot. Was this what Tornadus needed? Nope.
Oh, that did like 10% to like 15%.
In a previous generation, maybe. Now, though, it was so unable to find use that even PU was beyond its reach. Unbelievable in the literal sense, though it was, this Pokemon that formerly dropped Latios with Specs Hurricane, still with great special attack and speed, now bearing Nasty Plot and reliable stab, was untiered.
That's actually untiered. It's so bad that it can't access any of the tiers. Like, most Pokemon are tiered. Being untiered as a legendary, it might be the only untiered legendary, actually. That's so embarrassing.
It was actively recommended to not use Tornadus in any tier. We're not sure what kind of other buff Tornadus could get at this point to help it out, but please, Game Freak, something. Those Gen 5 remakes better deliver the goods and then some. And that's it. Once again, let us know if you thought we were on the money with these.
Yeah, I mean, damn, that is genuinely, that is nightmarish. That is so sad. That was another fantastic video from Full Swipe Gaming. I hope that you did enjoy. Please subscribe to Full Swipe Gaming. They need your help to get to 500,000 subscribers, and they'll be linked in the description. As always, you can always subscribe here to me as well to get to 200K. That'd be kind of cool. Subscribe, go ahead, do it. Thanks, appreciate it. Bye.